Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
What's the one secret you will take to the grave but don't mind telling on the internet? My wife surprised me with a trip to Vegas for my 30th. She was working as a nurse during COVID and came home after a long shift and let it slip about Vegas, but she didn't even realize what she said and just kept talking. She asked me later on if I had any idea we were going to Vegas for my birthday, but it would break her heart if I told her she let it slip. She was so happy and proud of herself keeping it a secret for so long. She's seriously the best and has a heart of gold. I see no reason to tell her this. This is not at all where I thought this confession was going, and I am so happy for the twist. In the late 90s, my father's older brother, my uncle, was terminally ill with cancer, in his mid-70s, and expected to live up to another 12 months. He had no quality of life, was in and out of hospital, heavily drugged, frail and unable to bathe himself or use the bathroom alone. My aunt was distraught but wanted to keep him alive as long as possible regardless of his condition. A doctor took my father aside and said he was willing to increase my uncle's morphine drip and end his life. The increase would not be recorded on his chart. According to my dad, the doctor called it an unofficial act of mercy. My father, who didn't have power of attorney, agreed, and my uncle passed peacefully that day. My father told me over a quiet drink a few weeks after the funeral. He said he felt that doctor offered an incredible kindness that not everyone would understand, and I understood this meant to keep it between us. My father passed a decade later. He and I never spoke of it again, and I've never told anyone. I think this kind of thing happened a lot back in the day, maybe still does. Maybe it was easier back then to have things go unrecorded, unnoticed. IDK. I fully believe my father did this out of love for his brother, and it makes me very proud of how much courage he needed to do that. This still does happen, if it makes you feel any better. It makes me feel better that so many people can get comfort and peace instead of pain in their final moments. On record, every medical professional will swear up and down that this never happens. But yeah, I spent 3 days giving my father morphine as he was slipping away. A couple hours before he passed, I took a nap at my place a couple miles away. My stepbrother called me to let me know he passed on. When I got over to his home to say goodbye, noticed the full bottle of morphine was totally empty. It had only been 2 hours. I don't know who did it for him. There were many people at the house. I'm thankful they did what they did. I never would have had the guts to do it. My grandfather asked hospital staff straight up, how long, if I don't eat and refuse treatment for cancer? 2 to 3 weeks. They were pretty close. They sent him home with instructions of what not to do for pain patches and overdosing on pain meds. They were very, very descriptive in what not to do so you don't die. It was a coded but instruction of how to fade out peacefully at home before hospice, but he wasn't fully ready and asked when he arrived at hospice, how long if I speed this up, basically. He died in hospice almost bang on the 2 to 3 week mark. On my birthday, if his wife, my grandma, wasn't religious, he probably would have taken the earlier route, but this non-religious man held on for his wife, attended church, which he has never done ever, and was focused on everyone else but himself at end of life. Back in high school, I told my family I found a stray puppy on the side of the road on my way home from work. In reality, someone was giving away free puppies out of a truck in the grocery store parking lot I drive past to get home. We kept him lol and no one knows. My husband thinks I found one of our cats at a gas station. She was actually born to one of the feral cats at my old job. I had her picked out for weeks and only brought her home when she was old enough. He's not crazy about cats and we already had one, so I knew he'd never let me keep her. But who could say no to a poor scared kitty abandoned on the side of the road? That stupid cat worships him. I love your story, slightly smiling face. My wife rescues stray cats that people abandon in the countryside around here. I say no, then reluctantly agree, then obviously fall in love with them. Every time. I'm a sap. Anyway, the one, my favorite, a ginger, she always claimed wouldn't leave her alone and followed her all the way home. Several years later, I overheard her telling someone the same story, except in the true version, she carried the little freeloader in her arms for 2 miles, face with raised eyebrow. He died in my arms last year, and holy asterisk 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 asterisk, do I miss him. When I was 9, I took a $20 bill from my dad's wallet while we were on vacation and pretended that I found it in the sand on the beach. Could be worse, based on some of these posts lol. It was me who broke the side mirror when pulling out of the garage. It was me. I backed my parents' brand new car into a fire hydrant trying to turn around. Put a big hole in the rear bumper, but there was kind of a flap that didn't break off. So I positioned that back in place and meticulously reversed the car in the driveway every time I drove it so that part of the car wasn't visible when coming in or out of the house. My parents didn't notice it for months. My mom thought someone did it in the grocery store parking lot. I will never tell. The habit of reverse parking stuck with me and I still do it decades later. My dad would have noticed this within 8 hours, maximum tears of joy. When my son was first born, I called my public health office to put him up for adoption. He was 5 days old. He was a very much planned and wanted baby, and I had every mean to take care of him. Unbeknownst to me, it was the beginning of a battle with postpartum OCD, and I hadn't slept more than a couple hours for those 5 days, to the point I was hallucinating. Only 5 days in, and I couldn't take it anymore. The public health nurse came to my home immediately. She put my baby to sleep in his bassinet, then sat with me for hours at my kitchen table as I wailed to her everything I was afraid of. Thankfully, she knew I didn't want to put my baby up for adoption. I just needed help. She referred me to emergency therapy, a program made just for postpartum mothers. My son is 2.5 years old today, and thinking about that day still makes me physically sick. I love him more than anything, and he lives an amazing life, with a now healthy and happy mom. Thank God for that nurse. Postpartum care really needs more attention. I'm so glad you had that woman help you. There's no shame in this. Please don't feel ashamed. I'm very honest with my teens and young adult kids about how difficult their first days and weeks were. It's important to tell others so they don't feel alone in their thoughts. ETA, I'm also adopted and feel that I have intimate knowledge of all sides. Adoption and the reasons for it can be stigmatized. Communication is key, including the good and the not so seemingly good. I stole a silver balloon from an arts craft store when I was around 7, it later went out of business. I thought it was my fault, sad face. I'm the owner of the craft store, and yes, it was your fault. I broke an apple picker when I was a kid and was convinced that when we went back to the lady at the orchard to pay for our apples, she would call the police on me for breaking her apple picker. For some reason in my mind, this one broken piece of equipment, which was basically a broomstick with a bag on the end of it, was going to destroy their business. Didn't I shit a brick when we got back to the little stand where you paid and there were 2 cops there? Flushed, ended up making my mom go up. Saw her and cops laughing their asses off. Mom waves me over and I'm certain I'm going to jail. Cop pats me on the back and says, "We'd only arrest you if you had lied about it or tried to hide it, good job," and then the lady gave me a free donut. Still have no clue why they were there, but it was a good life lesson at that age, while also being a bit unhinged on the cop's part, saying he would have arrested me at all. Lol. The 90s were a simpler time in that way. And then the lady gave me a free donut. Still have no clue why they were there. ... I don't like my mom's magic cookie bars that she's been making since I was a child. She makes them when we come over and I count on my spouse to eat them, since he does genuinely like them. Tears of joy. She gets so excited to tell me that she made some for me, and I'm 20 years into this lie, so might as well keep it going. I had a thing like that with my mom, and if she ever makes some other dessert or cookies you do like, I would recommend spinning it like, "Can you make these for me again? I love them, maybe even more than your magic cookie bars." I didn't think it was possible, but these are my new favorite. This is such sweet and kind way of going about it. My wife has a tendency to get distracted and leave presents laying around before wrapping them. So except for once, in the 15 years we have been together, I have never been surprised with a present. I just pretend like I never didn't see anything. That one time there was a 60 inches TV she managed to hide behind the couch for like 2 weeks. That's hilarious that the only gift that she hid from you was a giant TV. Exclamation mark. My mom used to be terrible for snooping for her gifts, and my dad kept getting fed up because she was never surprised by anything. Then one year she couldn't find any of her presents he'd bought and she was getting really mad about it, thinking he'd just not bought her anything. Turns out he bought her some nice, new clothes and just hung them up in her closet. Straight up hidden in the open. In high school, during a school trip, me and some buddies let me smoke with them for the first time. I wanted to try it. 20 minutes later, the chaperones came to check on us and immediately noticed it. So we all got punished during the trip. After we got back to school the next week, we all met with the principal and SRO one by one. My buddies all vouched for me, saying I did not partake, so I avoided expulsion. To this day my family still doesn't know what happened. Only my brother and my friends know. Loyal friends. Yeah, real AF. When I was 15, I snuck out with 2 people I barely knew for the weekend and went to a concert over 100 miles away from home. My mom thought I was just across town staying with a friend for a few days in the summer. Saw System of a Down, Powerman 5000, Kid Rock, Korn and Metallica. Hell of a first concert. Summer sanitarium. I was also 15 and went to Foxborough. I got a broken nose and was treated in the visiting team's locker room. I stole a dime from church so I could get a bottle of Pepsi. I was 11. I remember it clearly. We were poor, and of course I wanted it. No joke. Jesus would forgive a thirsty child. Jesus would have just turned some water into Pepsi. I was stealing meat from the grocery store when I was 14 so my mom and I could eat. My mom had ovarian cancer, and my dad had died when I was 12. I have no regrets. I sincerely hope you enjoyed the Pepsi, and I hope you have no regrets, either. Less than 3. When it comes to food, if you see someone stealing, no you didn't. You just broke my heart. I hope life has been kinder to you since. When I was little I remember hearing my mom stress over money and I put all my cash in her purse. It was maybe $5 total, but I was like 7. I've got quite a few core memories from our poor times. One time when I was 7/8, Dad found out I had eaten 2 bagels and flipped out saying we didn't have the money for 2 breakfasts. It hurt so much because I wished he could afford any number of bagels for us to eat. I felt like I had failed the family. Another year at Christmas, after the divorce, Dad didn't have any money for ornaments for our tree, so we all made some out of paper. God, the pain in his voice when he told us. Me and my siblings look back fondly at those ornaments, but I haven't seen him on tree since he bought more. I'm now ugly crying at 3 p.m. on a workday, been about 30 years, but those memories haven't faded a bit. Can't remember the last time I cried like this either. Probably happens a million times a day where some kid gets saddled with the guilt of being poor. Mom, Dad, I love you and I know you all were just trying.